Okay, we're going to start our second video on distance with the idea of drive time distances. And so what you can see from the previous video is that we still have our three distance buffers, and we have our map note, which is Grove City Hospital. Now the first one, essentially what we were saying was how far out in a simple planar distance is it from that central node or Grove City Hospital. In a sense, I made it a simple analogy of imagine a helicopter being able to fly 5 miles or 30 miles or 60 miles. Now, in the sense in that what we're saying is there's no impediment to movement. In the next example, what we're going to do is talk about drive time, which allows us to examine how things move through space given certain constraints. And so in this case, again, what we're going to do is leave those features there, go back to our analysis tool, and again, under proximity, we're going to choose in this time the create drive time areas. In a sense, what we're doing is creating buffers of time distance constrained by the limits of roads and speed limits. So I'm going to click on that tool. And in this case, our drive time is going to be a similar idea, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and 30 minutes. In this case, you'll notice again I've put spaces in between them, but now I have some options here. I can use, for example, the simple distance constrained only by where roads are and their speed limits, or I can use traffic as a constraint on the travel, and we can either use live traffic, what is in fact actually happening right now on the roads, or we can do it based on typical drive data, traffic data, and that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to click on traffic based on typical conditions for, in this case, I'm going to choose Monday, and I'm going to choose 8:15 in the morning. And so now imagine that we are examining how far out an ambulance can move from Grove City Hospital at Monday morning at 8:15, given normal constraints of traffic. So that's what we're doing here. And again, I'm going to name this Monday drive time, Grove City Hospital. And we're going to run the analysis. Remember to turn off the use current map extent. And this process will run. And this process takes considerably longer because there's more data going into the process. What we'll notice is that this is going to produce a very uneven distribution. In other words, it's not going to be simple radiuses like our other data showed, but rather it's going to be influenced by the distribution of roads. Okay, I paused the tape there for a minute to let this finish. Took a few seconds there. Now we see our drive time. I'm going to turn off the simple buffers, and you'll notice that in fact, even though our first buffer would have been 30 miles, and again, in theory, that should be how far you can drive at 60 miles an hour if it was a straight line distance, our 30-minute drive time is considerably smaller, and in fact, it fits quite neatly into that. And so again, if we look at this, we now see a very different landscape, and you'll notice, especially in the areas immediately surrounding the hospital, that the distance on some of the major arteries, major roads, can be quite a bit farther than the distance on the interior roads. So again, this is a drive time distance, and what I'd like you to do in this part of the exercise is produce a drive time distance of 5, 15, and 30 minutes from your map node of choice. So again, your buffers should line up, and I want you to compare these two differences. Remember to save your map when you're done with each of these. We'll see you next time when we're looking for proximity of features.